Hi, you're watching Construction Gaming and welcome to a brand new series which I'm calling my Northwest Challenge on Transport Fever. I've basically made myself a map using the tools and importing the terrain image, and I've made myself a map which stretches from Preston in the northwest of England, takes a bit of the Pennines in, comes down past Manchester, down past Birmingham, all the way as far south as Rugby, which is kind of in the Midlands / the south. It's also got a bit of Wales in here as well, right over as far as McCuntleth and Colwyn Bay. Basically, this challenge is going to be me connecting all of the towns and cities together. It's something I've wanted to do for a while. I've played on the maps that have been created by the game itself, and they usually have around 30 towns and cities, and I've never had a playthrough where I've connected them all together with regular passenger services, so I thought it'd make a good series, and it's something I've wanted to do for a while, but I wanted to do it on a map that I'd created, so I put this together. If you watch my Newchester City Skyline series, you'll be familiar with like Chester, Shotton, Ellesmere Port and the Wirral. Basically that city just encompasses a little tiny square in comparison, where this is a very large map with I think around 30 towns. I think it was 33 when I counted, and a few industries just scattered in there for a bit of money. So yeah, that's the series. I'm not sure how long it's going to take or how many episodes, but I want to connect every single one of them, and I also want to build the West Coast Main Line in some form, which is basically it's one of the most important railways in the country. It connects Preston, well, it goes all the way to Scotland, I should say that, but in this version we're going to be connecting Preston, and we're going to be kind of travelling southeast all the way to Rugby. In real life, the West Coast Main Line is basically the London to Scotland route, which kind of travels on the kind of north-west regions, and it connects Birmingham as well. It's quite a big and busy railway. I'm not going to recreate it 100%. I think that's possible within the game, but I'm going to try and recreate it as best I can. And basically every other kind of railway is going to be similar to that in real life, with basically all of the towns and cities that I have placed do in real life have a railway connection. Some of them will be quite a challenge to connect, the likes of McCuntleth here, which is really in the hills. This terrain is going to be quite difficult to get around. Just to make things a bit harder for myself, I've selected the mod which makes bridges and tunnels just that little bit more expensive, just to make it a little bit harder and a little bit more realistic, because I think the tunnels and bridges were quite cheap. I made it a bit too easy. So yeah, I've got that selected. I do have loads of mods as well. I have a collection which I've put up on Steam, which will be all the mods and assets that I've used within this game, and I'll put a link to that in the description below, as I will also put a link to, there's a guy who does a really good tutorial on how to make your own maps. I've forgotten his name, but I will put his link to his video in the description below if you want to make your own map. I wasn't planning on putting this on Steam. I think it's quite difficult. It's not straightforward, but I could put the PNG image up if you're interested in making your own map. I'll put that somewhere if anyone's interested. But for now, that is basically the setup. Now what I'm going to do, this is just a blank map. I already started the game and I've already recorded some footage, so it'll look a bit different to what I'm looking at now. I must just say, before I go on to the next bit, actually, all of these terrain lines, I did try and follow the tutorial as best I could, and I used blurring in the images, but it still created all these horrible terrain lines. So what I'm going to do off camera is smooth the whole thing out, because it's really irritating me. I've tried using the image editors to use smoothing. I've probably done something wrong, but it's got all these lines, so as I build railways and different connections, I will be just smoothing the area out, and eventually the whole map should look smooth and nice and not all hilly and just rubbish. As I said, I couldn't figure out a way to get it smoother. I tried all the different software blurring and things like that, but it didn't work. So it is what it is. Still pretty pleased with the map. It offers a nice challenge, and it's got towns and cities in roughly realistic positions. Somebody might call me out for something which isn't quite right, but I've tried my best within the kind of limits of the map making software available. So in this episode I'm going to be building the Liverpool and Manchester Railway. One of the reasons for this, it's one of the most important railways in the world. It's the first to have fully timetable steam passenger services. It's the first to be entirely double tracked, and it's the first to have signalling. It wasn't just a passenger railway. The main kind of reason for the railway was to transport freight between Manchester and the crucial port of Liverpool at the time. It still is, but it was even more important then. Basically the line will travel in an easterly or westerly direction, whichever way you look at it, between Manchester and Liverpool. In real life it didn't call at St Helens. There was a location just south, which will be about here, called Rain Hill, which is famous for the Rain Hill trials, where they basically trialled different locomotives, and that's where the famous Stephenson's rocket kind of comes into the equation. Basically they had a section of track, and they basically had a challenge between locomotive builders to see who could build the best, and basically the Stephenson's rocket came out as the champion, as the winner, and that was used for the steam services between Manchester and Liverpool. But basically what I was saying is I'm going to represent Rain Hill in this area down here. So basically it'll call Liverpool Rain Hill and then just go straight to Manchester, and that will be the basis on which kind of all the railways start to be built from there. And eventually, like I said, all of the towns and cities will be connected, even the little difficult ones here up in the mountains, which is not in the right place, but it offers a nice challenge anyway. So that's the challenge, that's the series. This episode I've already recorded the footage of will be the building of Liverpool and Manchester Railway. Right, what was supposed to happen was you'd get to see a quick time lapse of the building of the railway between Liverpool and Manchester. I recorded it, I thought I recorded it a few days ago, and the intro was kind of recorded yesterday afterwards, but I've just looked in my OBS output folder and I can't see it. I don't know if I've deleted it. I did have a bit of a tidy up, but it's not in the recycle bin, so I don't know where that footage has gone. And since then I've been playing the game for another 5 or so more years in game, just to try and get some money. So this railway is booming now, which is good to see. I have 6 coach trains running, 6 carriage trains running, and it's still not enough to deal with the demand. I've got the obligatory bus services running in each of the towns. So I've got one here, which this train station, if you remember from the intro, which you will do because it was only for you a few minutes ago, is Rain Hill, with a bus service going into St Helens town and then up to the top and then across. It's quite a long way actually in game terms, over to Manchester, where then again there's another shuttle that takes passengers from the station to the town, to the middle of the city and then out the back. This is kind of the regular one line setup that I have, which seems to work. They don't ever seem to make any money. The Manchester one is, which is unusual. The Liverpool one is making a big loss, but that is subsidised heavily by the train service, which is making 3.47 million at the minute, with 3 trains, each with 6 carriages, with a 4-minute frequency, which isn't too bad for a first line. So yeah, the railway's up and running and making a lot of money. I have paid off my loan completely, which is great. So what I was thinking, I've been playing with this for a few hours, few in-game years, and this section here, particularly between Liverpool and St Helens or Rainhill, is very busy. I can't keep up with demand. I can't just keep buying better trains with more carriages. I could send them into the depot one by one, but I think 6 is probably the limit of the locomotive that I have, which is that. What is that? The Class 754, not very good with steam engines. Where are we? 789 horsepower. I think it says it is, the power rating is mediocre, so it's getting to the limit anyway. So what I'm going to do is make a start on the West Coast Main Line at Warrington. Warrington will eventually have 2 stations. One is called Warrington Bank Quay, which is on the West Coast Main Line, and one is Warrington Central, which serves Liverpool and another Liverpool to Manchester line, which was built later. The service that I'm going to introduce is the Liverpool to Warrington Bank Quay service, which I know there is to this day, which connects at a junction around, well, it will have to be here, which is near Earlstown and Newton-le-Willows. As a kind of important junction which connects the Liverpool and Manchester line to the West Coast Main Line. I have here, I built this just to, yeah, this was a bit of a spur before I could afford a bridge, because remember I've got expensive tracks on. So this is going to be my North Cheshire line, which will eventually connect Warrington and Manchester with Chester. So I built it here basically when I had enough money. I built a bridge, so basically this will form, I think, the junction. I don't need to pause the game actually, I can just crack on. Yeah, this will be a junction with Warrington Bank Quay. I can get rid of all this actually, this is all unnecessary. Yeah, don't want any of that. This will be deleted. When I've got enough passenger lines making enough money, I'm going to scrap all this freight altogether. Might seem a bit of a waste, but it's just a distraction from the actual challenge of creating a passenger railway. So smooth all this out, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's not too dissimilar from where it is in real life, which is good. So I've put in a nice straight road. Actually, I think because the railway will come along this way, and I've installed, I don't know if I've selected, no I haven't done it already, elevated stations, so I think I will dump Warrington Central here when I can afford to demolish all of these houses. But for now I want to build a through station. That's underground, that's for later, that's for another thing I have planned. 240 metres I think will do, and I will try and future-proof it. It'll cost me a bit more. I think so, it's not really that expensive. Get rid of that, and then put in the station. Yeah, 4 tracks we'll have to do with an extra street connection, and I will make it high speed because the West Coast main line is going to be for trains doing about 200 kilometers an hour. 125 miles an hour is the limit for the West Coast main line. I think I don't want to spend too much money on railway that I'm not going to use, but we'll just have it with no catenary for now. Bring up excuse me, 2 tracks. I do need to research whether it's 4 track between Warrington and Wigan, but for now we'll just leave it. I will put in a section here. I wonder if there's a tape, like a ruler tape measure for this, because it'd be interesting to know the distances that I can set my signals at, because what I don't want is to have too many conflicts. So if I can have a full train here waiting, that would be good. So bring that in, that should be long enough. God, that almost brings us to here. It's going to be tricky later on in the game, I think, but we need a crossing. Oh dear, that ain't gonna work, is it? Oh, we'll just leave it for now. Yeah, because that needs to come out here like that. Oh, no. And then be a bit better. Right. So that can come into... no, it can't. That is the problem when you don't make a map to scale, which obviously is impossible on this, but so it's going to come from this end platform and then over, and then it needs to cross onto there like that. And then it just wants to go into there. That should work. Actually no, it doesn't even need that crossing. Or does it? Yes it does. Oh, what am I doing? Yeah, like that. And then we'll get some modern signals in, so right, try that again, shall we? Dog just wanted to go out, so we need a signal there and one there. We'll leave that for now. What am I doing? My mind has gone blank. So basically you have trains going up and they will need to be stopped, won't they? And there. So if there's a train coming across, he's allowed to move, and then if he's coming northbound or eastbound towards Liverpool, he needs to stop there. That'll do for now. Eventually I'm going to have to build a bridge to get this railway underneath the Liverpool and Manchester one. That's there. I've got a block in there. I might put another block in. I think the advice that I've looked at on YouTube is you normally have one more signal than the amount of trains that you've one signal block more than the trains that you're running, but I just tend to chuck in as many blocks as I can and let the computer work out the distances well, hope it works out the distances between trains anyway. Put in another one there. So basically they're going to share that platform, and then we want to double track this section, which I should have done in the first place. It's good to see the money rate coming in anyway, because track is not the most expensive part of building a passenger railway. It is the locomotives are very expensive. Right, so now we do need to pause the game. I have to remember that trains in this game drive on the wrong side of the track. I think for now I'm just going to put a diamond crossover in here. I have made a bit of an issue for myself in the future in that I've made Liverpool so small, because obviously you already can see that there's development going on around where the station needs to be, and eventually this is going to be 6, I'll probably say 6 platforms, but I'm just going to have to deal with the consequences of that later on. I'll put another fixed block in here, hopefully long enough, and just one more for good measure. Not bothering with electrification at the minute. So basically we want, hopefully that should work. Let's see what this is saying. So that goes into that platform. We want to create a new service from Warrington, calling at Rainhill, and Liverpool, Rainhill, back to Warrington. Oh, I've got to put some waypoints in. These are going to be the through platforms, and this is going to be the dead end platform. Whatever the proper word for that is, I can't think. Right, so can we afford 2 trains? I doubt it, but we'll have a go. Be nice to have a nice Class A4. They are quite expensive, so I think it is going to have to be Flying Scotsman. No, stick with the old Class 75.4. Not in that horrible green. Buy, and we'll have 4, 2, 3, 4. Do it again. Ooh, oh, just how much the carriage is? 5. God, I can't believe how much these are. It's ridiculous. Let's see if this train pulls in. Oh, come on. Just need one more payday. Come on. Yes, that's it. And we get another one going on line 1, which will be Liverpool to Bank Quay. Hopefully. We've got 4. Hopefully some passengers will start to move over onto that one. I'm not entirely sure how it works with this sort of arrangement, because I don't think I've really played it in that much detail before. But hopefully it should take some of the pressure off, because you can see I've got 84, 85, and they're not all going to be picked up by the Liverpool to Manchester train, because there's just not enough space, especially with the Manchester. Some Manchester passengers stay on for the journey all the way to Liverpool, as far as I can tell. So maybe it'll balance itself out, but I don't know. But hopefully it'll do what I want it to do. Oh, he's picked up a good number of passengers already. That is a good sign. And there's still kind of 70 here who want to go either to Rainhill or Manchester. It's a shame that it doesn't excuse me, say where they want to go. The only way you know that passengers do stay on the train is that when it calls at Rainhill, it'll go down to a number, say 20, and then it'll start going back up again as Rainhill passengers start boarding. I think this... no, I don't want to ride it. It's going to start making money quite quickly by the looks of it, although it is empty. Why are you empty? No, because it's going to Warrington. Nobody wants to go to Warrington. Ooh, there's one person. Right, so there is the beginning of the West Coast Main Line between Warrington and Wigan, and this will eventually go to Crewe. There's going to be a spur off to Runcorn, and there's going to be at least, oh god, there's going to be loads. There's going to be Crewe, Runcorn, Liverpool. That's the West Coast Main Line kind of route. Then there's going to be an underground route, and there's going to be a northern route to Manchester as well. Oh, and a southern route to Manchester. So Liverpool is going to have a lot of lines coming out of this little tiny station. So yeah, apologies for that kind of mess up. I hopefully won't do it again, but hopefully I've made more than made up for the time lapse with my soothing sounds describing me building the railway from Liverpool to Warrington via Rainhill. So there we are. I think that's it. Until next time, bye bye.